Hello and welcome everyone to our live. Great to have you all here. We will probably have like a little bit slower start to let you all get into our live. We have just started. So once again, welcome everyone. The topic of our today's live is delight your users and bulk up business with VTO, the tech and UX perspective. I will be the one responsible for the UX and the business perspective, but luckily when it comes to tech perspective, I have somebody to help me with that, and this is Grzegorz. Hello, Grzegorz. Great to have you here.
Hello, thanks for this kind introduction.
Good to have you, Grzegorz. The truth is, we're not meeting for the first time during live. We're not meeting for the first time during live for a VTO topic. Therefore, I would say quite a reasonable question to ask. Why now? What is going on? Why again are we talking about the virtual try-on perspective? Virtual try-on topic. Let's start with your perspective, and then I will add something on my side. What do you think? Why are we meeting again?
Well, basically, there is a lot of stuff going on around virtual try-ons recently, but there is quite a shift in how users are perceiving the virtual try-ons. Because first of all, as it was quite engaging some time ago, and it was quite like some entertainment tool and so on and so on. People are changing their approach to those virtual try-ons. They want them to be more realistic. That's one part. The second part is that there is the change in who actually starts investing in virtual try-ons. Because the last time when we were talking about it was quite natural that some retailers responsible for selling their own products were investing in virtual try-ons, and that was quite likely. On the other hand, there were some virtual try-on solutions for some shops, like smaller shops, but these were quite niche, I would say, and they provide some limited user experience because, well, they are general solutions for virtual try-on. They cannot go as far as someone having their own inventory, their own data, and so on and so on. So there were some natural limits to what they could achieve. And right now, there are some additional investments in the field, for example, from Amazon quite recently. And well, that I believe changes a lot.
So I agree that there is a shift. Definitely, I can see it as well. Definitely, the way the final consumers perceive virtual try-on has changed in the last months and years. I don't fully agree with some other parts, but it's great that we can discuss that and challenge our perspective when it comes to that. But I couldn't agree more that there is a lot of going on the virtual try-on market. I still believe that the tipping point, as I claimed a few months back, that the tipping point is still to come when it comes to mass adoption, but we're slowly, step by step, getting there. You have, Grzegorz, already touched mentioning Amazon regarding the situation on the market. Let's start. Maybe we will move on to platforms in the end, definitely. But maybe if I could start with another example from the market. So Coty, one of the biggest players on the beauty market in the world, they have they want to patent their solution when it comes to virtual try-on of makeup. Why do they want to patent that? They claim that they have come with quite an innovative solution when it comes to lighting. Therefore, they take into consideration the ambient lighting when putting on your virtual try-on of makeup. I know lighting in virtual try-ons is one of your, I would say, beloved topics. Maybe you would like to add something here?
Well, it's interesting in general that someone else is trying to do some patent around virtual try-on of makeup, because there was one patent claim some time ago regarding the virtual try-on in makeup. It was a patent of quite popular solution for generating images in general in machine learning. So I was quite surprised that someone tried to patent that area, especially that this solution was already known to wider public, and the solution was published quite openly in scientific literature. So actually anyone could take this solution, anyone could take the algorithm, all the details were known. So there is nothing like that the major part of the tool was hidden. Everyone knew how it actually worked. And yet someone decided to patent that area. And here we have another situation when someone claims that they have a solution for lighting condition. I believe that was the area which wasn't as well addressed with the previous pattern of the another company. And that's quite possible, because lighting is one of the most complex areas when it comes to virtual try-on, right? Because those lighting conditions are non-trivial to assess, because first of all you need to identify where is the source of light, then what kind of source of light it is, whether it is like focused or scattered, what kind of reflections you may have on the surfaces, because different kinds of makeup may change the way your skin is reflecting light, right? So in this specific area this is even more complex, I believe. And it's quite interesting that they went into that direction. Of course, I would love to see whether they are using the previously patented technology to build the base of their virtual try-on without even those lighting conditions, because this is an interesting topic in general on what other techniques are there to construct this kind of virtual try-on for the makeup, and whether this is just an add-on on those previous technique or this is entirely new technique.
Mm-hmm. And once again, as mentioned in the beginning of our life, from my point of view, from the business point of view, why beauty? Why again beauty? Because it's the most, it's like, let's say, a no-brainer from the customer side. So when it comes to makeup, it is always about the details. We can look at colors of different products that might seem really, really similar on the screen of our computer. But if we enable the final customer to actually see the slight differences between those, this might already be enough in order to make an aware purchase. Therefore, Coty, the whole, I would say, beauty sector and virtual try-on, we've seen that before. We have seen Sephora introducing their solution, L'Oreal introducing their solution, and many, many more. Makes sense. Let's say what you mentioned in the beginning, that there is a lot of new players on the market. Still, the old, I would say, industries or old players that have already been involved in the VTOs are showing that this is like the main market as for now, and this is where we should expect some further developments. The next example, if we try to Google what was going on in the virtual try-on market lately, we also see that the Classic Specs brand have introduced their virtual try-on technology. So again, an eyewear manufacturer. And from my personal experience throughout the years, there have been many solutions of virtual try-ons for glasses. We have even created a report that resonates around that topic quite strongly. Therefore, once again, a situation in which this virtual try-on is, let's once again say it, a no-brainer. So I have a face in front of my screen of my computer or the screen of my phone. I have a camera. I do not have to do anything special when it comes to my movement to try on the product that fits actually on my head. So this is like the first barrier, sometimes even the most important in our heads, in the final consumer's heads, that tells us, okay, with glasses it actually makes sense. It doesn't require any effort from me. I just have a few clicks and I can try the glasses on. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. However, in their specific solution from Classic Specs, there is one tiny detail which, from the user experience perspective, may make it even more desirable. So, for example, you are able to launch this solution within your web browser. It is cool because it is multi-platform and so on. You can launch it on your laptop. You can launch it on your PC. You can launch it on your iPad, iPhone, whatever you have. However, this comes at a cost. So if you are launching it on a mobile device, there may be quite heavy throttling from the perspective of the performance, because starting with the fact that it is mobile device, so it has quite limited throughput, which is already a problem for real-time video processing. We are adding additional layer of complexity, which is actually running this kind of a solution in a browser. And well, I would love to see how they address those areas, and whether this is, planned to be improved quite soon, because all those solutions have quite low frame rate on mobile devices in most cases. So even like a 2-year-old but quite good level of smartphone may have like only 1 or 2 frames per second actually. So I wouldn't call that particularly comfortable virtual try-on, but well, and definitely some improvements will be visible over time, because actually they either can invest more time into building some improvements, some optimizations, so that the solution will provide you more smooth experience, or they will basically just wait until those mobile devices get better processing power, and the solution will improve by itself over time, right?
So from my perspective, this is something that happens quite often when we talk to clients regarding virtual try-on solutions. They are pretty aware. They are in the business. They know that whatever they do, they must take, which we fully agree with, customers' barriers into consideration. Therefore, implementing in web solutions kills the first barrier of having to download the app, for example, right? So this is quite a huge barrier from the experience perspective. At the same time, as you said, regarding the quality, we could position it in that way that the lowest quality can be achieved on web mobile, then comes the web on the desktop, but the highest solution, right, that we could achieve, or let's say the almost highest solution we can achieve are the mobile apps, right? This would be our next step, where we could frame the whole app in such a way that the VR and AR solution could be chunkable for the software. And then moving quite fluently comes the solution all the in-store virtual try-on solutions, like the one introduced not so long ago by our friends from Cartier. We have seen the video of how taking advantage of very good computing power can end up with high quality virtual try-ons in store. I've been pretty impressed with what have been achieved by Cartier. The quality is quite amazing. The ring that they have introduced is I could imagine really the final consumers considering the purchase decision based only on that. What is your opinion on that? Were you impressed by the quality as well of that solution?
Definitely, and this is, I believe, one of the most interesting cases in general in the virtual try-on world today, because they are actually, first of all, putting quite high computing power into that experience. So it's no more an edge device like a smartphone or something like that, where you need to consider all those trade-offs between the user experience, whether they will download the app or not, or whether you want to have quite smooth virtual try-on experience or not, and so on and so on. So they focused only on the experience. I even remember some citation from their mouth some time ago, that they want the technology that will be able to fool the gemologist who will be watching the virtual try-on, so that the person who knows how those gems reflect the light and so on should be convinced that the ring is actually on the hand. And well, seeing those videos, seeing those results of virtual try-ons, I believe they were able to accomplish this, or they are at least very close to that objective of fooling even a gemologist, experienced gemologist, regarding the realism of the experience that they provide. But in general, the solution also from the technical perspective is completely different, or we even tried to let's say engineer it backward, how one could accomplish this kind of a solution. And this kind of solution is completely different than all the virtual try-ons that you could see on the mobile devices, in the web pages, and so on and so on. Mostly because this is so huge quality, there are so complex requirements towards the quality of fitting, that you need to completely change the approach. It's not like you have a very, very simple pattern which you are putting in the image. It's not like just identifying where something should be put, but it's all of that with 100% realism, because there you have not only those occlusion issues, not only those reflections, you also need to provide all those details like the boundary between the skin and the ring, and so on and so on. So this is incredible work done by their team. Congratulations actually, because this is one of the best virtual try-ons out there right now.
Yes, as well. Kudos from my side to Cartier. We were really impressed of what was achieved on that field. Regarding the quality, because it's a jewelry sector, it's a high-end jewelry sector, the quality must be top-notch. The quality, because it's an in-store solution, also must be top-notch, because when it's on, when it's in the web, you can actually our expectations as final consumers are a little bit lower, but when it's an in-store experience in their high-end luxurious points of sales, then it really must be a top-notch. Therefore, once again, we were really impressed. Some of you might ask, okay, so what is the use case for such solution in store? The use cases are many. How Cartier is planning to take advantage of it in their ecosystem is not still publicly claimed. We are waiting for that, how they want to how they want to use it in their ecosystem, what will be the main role that this solution will play. But let's say take into the consideration that there is some product that is at that very moment not specific, in that not available in that point, and we can try on in store, have an in-store try on in order to make a decision whether or not, even on the basic level, we are interested in that specific product, or maybe the products that are already there are the ones that we should go for. So there are many use cases for that in-store solution as well. Moving on to what you have already touched in the beginning, starting maybe with Walmart acquiring Memomi, which is a solution they've been working on again in the eyewear industry. On one side, all the some of the prescription parameters like pupillar distance could be checked thanks to their solution. They have implemented their solution in Walmart stores. In the last X years, they have worked together. Walmart finally decided to acquire them. Once again, eyewear, and then something I would say, as you mentioned in the beginning, partially new. So Amazon, one of the biggest players on the market, introducing their solution regarding shoes. So thanks to the solution that they already have put live, you can try on virtually shoes and make a purchase decision. How do you see the virtual try-ons being implemented into platform solutions, into platform companies like Amazon and many others are out there? We know that they're the biggest players on the market. On one hand, the range of products that they could implement into a virtual try-on is huge. At the same time, as we know, for each specific product, for each part of the body, there must be a separate model being to be created. Therefore, how do you see it from the possibilities of implementing VTO on platforms like Amazon?
Well, that's a really great question, because starting with one area, you can actually build an engine, for example, for fitting shoes, for fitting something else, and so on and so on. The cool part is that Amazon or other platforms, which already are big marketplaces, they have like a lot of data, but this data regarding, for example, shoes is quite heavily duplicated. So there is quite a lot of images which are more or less standard. Sure, there are cases when there is like a model wearing those specific shoes or other part of the jewelry or some wear and so on and so on. But in those cases, they have a lot of images as well of the item standalone. So on such a scale, they are able to filter out the data set. They can use some free resources of some labelers who will be able to firstly pre-filter all the images that you may have in general on such a scale, especially that they are doing some content moderation anyway. So they need to review a lot of those images, and then they can just embed it as a part of the process. And if they construct an engine which is able to work with only photos, that's perfectly okay, because they have such a scale that will allow them to roll out this solution for all the shoes, for all the kinds of clothing, and so on and so on. The tricky part is actually how to take care of sizing, because this is the most important part when capturing the object to get the sizing properly. And this is something that will be really hard for those marketplaces to assess, unless they have someone, again, from content moderation team, who will be able to score whether the sizing is okay or not. Perhaps that's the way to go. On Amazon scale, I believe this is something doable. For smaller marketplaces, that depends. Definitely, they will have some kind of a bigger advantage over those plug and play solution for smaller shops, because they will have all those resources centralized, right? Those images are already sent to the marketplace. They need to validate it anyway. They needed to have the permission to process those images and so on. While a lot of those solutions which are plug and play claim, and that's okay, right, that they do not process all the images that are uploaded by your shop and so on. For example, because they want to ensure some additional level of privacy. In this marketplace solution, actually the marketplace is the guarantee of privacy, right? Either you trust the marketplace or not. There is no third party here. The seller is actually the third party. So in such a setup, I believe there is a huge advantage of what Amazon can do as compared to other solutions which were plug and play solutions for smaller shops, because they will basically have much more data. They will have centralized engines to do that. And well, they already have huge traffic, right? The smaller shops wanted to have virtual try-ons quite usually to increase the traffic and so on. Here in Amazon, we already have huge traffic. They will just gather it more, or they will basically be able to convert it better, and so on and so on. And they have quite a lot of space for experimentation as well. And this is something that smaller shops cannot afford. This is something that smaller initiatives cannot afford due to money constraints or due to constraints related to amount of data they have.
So Grzegorz is on fire today. I cannot add anything to that. You have touched on all the bullet points that I've considered talking about Amazon. The only thing that I can touch also is a small joke. They have also an infinite computing power in house. Therefore, it makes it even much easier for them to take advantage of all the content that you have mentioned and implement a scalable and very useful for their customers virtual try-on solution.
A dream setup for machine learning engineer working on such a project, when you log into platform and you see infinite resources.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So Grzegorz, where do we see the future of virtual try-ons? Because from my perspective, once again, the brands, the industries like beauty, like eyewear, like fashion, especially footwear and jewelry. We remember mentioning Converse from 2012 already a few times in our content. Let's do it again. The one of the first virtual try-on solutions on the market for footwear. It very often makes sense. We've seen that also with after conversation with our clients, that there are many footwear brands or footwear multi-brands interested in virtual try-on solution. So me myself, I still consider that this is where we will see the biggest improvements. This is where the virtual try-on solutions will develop. We will achieve greater quality. Once again, the face positioning is in my opinion the first barrier that collapses when it comes to all the barriers that come to our head regarding virtual try-on solution. What I can add once again is the customer journey. So whenever there is when on the company side there is a need to have a virtual try-on solution in order to boost PR, that's totally fine. We totally get this. This is actually reserved to the biggest brands on the market, because virtual try-on solution, especially a bespoke one, is quite costly, no matter with what solution you go, if you want to achieve a proper quality. Therefore, going with a PR solution is totally fine from our perspective. We have seen such projects at Netguru, talking to Netguru as well in the past. But if you want to make it a business tool, it's all about placing it right in the customer journey. If from the very beginning you see a customer journey where the virtual try-on becomes a very useful solution, where we need to persuade or actually encourage our consumers to make a decision, and it's all about the need to visualize the specific products, then the virtual try-on makes sense. Otherwise, when you have to dig deeper, it requires a certain process and actually answer a few questions to make sure that the virtual try-on would be a good choice for you. Do you have anything to add to that regarding the future of virtual try-ons?
I think so, because you mentioned the customer journey there, and I believe it is quite interesting to see the trend, especially in footwear application and in footwear virtual try-ons, that there is more and more initiatives and to measure the size of the feet up front. So you are not starting with a virtual try-on, but virtual try-on is part of the bigger process, which starts with measuring the size of the foot of your feet, and with that, you can not only virtually try the shoe on your feet, but you are also able to figure out what size of the shoe should you order right away when you are satisfied with what you virtually tried on. So this is quite interesting, I believe.
Yeah, once again, a need that is there, that has always been there on the market, that we've known, and the virtual try-on is a solution for that need, not the other way around. Starting with virtual try-on and then digging deeper into that. I think it quite smoothly takes us to the second part of our live today. We wanted to mention during our live the success story that we have had lately with one of our clients. And let me do like a quick intro based on what we just said. So let's start with the product. So a product, first of all, we start with a product that is quite natural to buy online from the very beginning. So all the nail polish that you can, all the nail colors that you might need. So first of all, a product that makes sense online. Second of all, a customer journey during which you are totally aware that your customer will have to make the decision, should I go with this or with that color? How will that color look on my nails? Therefore, implementing a VTO solution in such environment was a great fit. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about the Cosmo Group product?
Yes, depending on the areas you want to tackle, because we could talk for ages around that. And I believe the technical team also had quite a lot of challenges there regarding what was the most complex part and what was actually related to keeping the performance quite acceptable or even better than acceptable, I would say. And regarding the realism, because this is all the matter of trade-offs, and there was quite a lot of elements which we needed to touch and to make the solution fully implemented.
So maybe to mention once again to what Grzegorz said, one of the most important requirements we had in the project from the very beginning was the natural lighting, the real-time experience, and then accessibility on different devices. This is something that was to achieved from the technical point of view. From the user experience point of view, the whole process was supposed to be quite intuitive, which is always why are we mapping all the customer journeys to make it as intuitive, as natural as possible. But from the tech perspective and the UX perspective bonded together, it was all about having the solution in the web app, therefore not to take the final customer to another solution, to an external website, to an external app, but to implement it there in order to for the whole journey to be as smooth as possible.
Well, actually, this solution was within application. We did not have a web application. It was like a native application on different platforms. We implemented 2 different mobile applications, one for iOS, one for Android. But this is once again some challenge to have the same experience on both platforms, because it appears when you dig deeply into machine learning frameworks that are available for both platforms that actually this is quite a different tech stack. You need to conduct the exact same computations on the level of the image and to obtain the same results, but it appears that there may be some differences, especially on the level not of the pure image processing, but on how machine learning frameworks work there. So the most basic parts regarding the image processing, these were quite, even though they were custom, they were quite complex, and they were quite easy to be ported between those 2 technologies. But there was additional issue of how to make the machine learning model work exactly the same way between those 2 devices, especially from the perspective of optimization and the performance, because iOS devices, Android devices, they have different kinds of processing power inside. They have different processor, AI co-processors, some AI units, additional GPUs, and so on and so on. So when you are focusing only on iOS, it's quite easy to say what's inside the mobile phone. But if you are trying to address entire variety of Android devices, you may expect everything actually out there. Sometimes it is GPU, sometimes it is neural processing unit, sometimes you're available only with CPU unit, and there is nothing else. And you still need to make the application working on all those devices, and you need to make the application working smoothly so that it doesn't work only on CPU and there is a powerful GPU embedded on the phone. So we implemented actually those applications for both platforms. We needed to go down from the technological level to all the smaller details to actually make sure that it will work on both platforms and will actually make use of all those devices which could be on your mobile phone. And at the same time, there is a lot of different elements that you mentioned, right? To make the color and the nail polish transfer as realistic as possible. So in those areas, we needed to have like a set of many different templates, which actually may be virtually tried on your fingernails. The interesting part is that it doesn't have to just be a color, and the solution that our team developed allows you to transfer many different kinds of shapes of different kinds of patterns. So even more complicated if you have some image on your fingernails, because you were so lucky that your cosmetician was able to draw a beautiful image, and this is the kind of image that the solution can transfer. And there were, of course, some edge cases which were surprising at the beginning. For example, if you have French, and this is an additional edge case for this kind of a solution to accurately figure out where the fingernail is. This is not so straightforward when you are thinking of such a solution, but then you are working with data, you see that there is some part of the data set which does not perform so well, and it appears that they share the common problem, or which is not a problem, but some challenge in the data, that there is part of the fingernail which is actually white. It is different color, it is not regular, so it is much harder to be distinguished from the background to be a part of a fingernail. So from this perspective, there was quite a lot of different challenges.
So would you say, because during different projects that we have been on together regarding VTOs, positioning has always been, if not number one, then one of the top topics. Would you say that regarding the nail solution, that as well was one of the biggest challenges you've had from the very beginning? Because as you've mentioned, the size, the shape of our nails, different hands that we have, it makes like positioning a nightmare. Therefore, the benchmarks on our hands are not that easy as well to find, right?
True. Well, basically, there is a number of different measures which you could consider for assessing the performance of such a solution, because for some of people, it will be important to have all fingernails always virtually tried on. So you need to make your model sensitive enough to capture all the fingernails. Actually, for some of our testers, it was quite surprising that it was, for example, capturing the nails on the toes. So it works with toes as well. Sometimes it is surprising because when you are building a machine learning model, you are trying to specify the threshold of the detection, and either it will have more false positives, so it will detect some more fingernails when they are none, but it will always or almost always detect the real fingernails, or you can tune it the other way around, so it will almost never detect fingernails when they are none, but it may also omit the fingernails that are actually there in the picture. So calibrating this properly for optimal user experience, this is one of the elements that is an element of the solution, and it is quite important in building this kind of solution to make sure that users are satisfied. And this is quite hard to assess from the engineer's perspective, right? Because engineer, well, how may he know whether this is the right balance between detection or not detecting a fingernail or not? So that's one part. The second part is, of course, you may go for extreme realism, but the more realism you add into the processing pipeline, this is 1 second, third and further step in the processing pipeline. As the pipeline grows, the processing power required to compute all those transformations is actually higher and higher. And this is a challenge, especially if you are deploying for mobile devices, because the more realism you want, the slower the solution becomes. And what was the case with Cosmo application? Actually, we have a pretty smooth experience, I believe, with quite a lot of stuff for realism as we were comparing how it relates to other solutions on the market. And it appears that we have like sometimes even twice as much processing towards the realism, and this is actually visible in the application, that you have all those realism related effects, that the boundary between the fingernail which you virtually try on and the skin is not a disaster, because it is easy to make it a disaster. So there is a lot of such elements in the processing pipeline, yet our frame ratio is quite well, and you can experience it quite smoothly, I believe.
I totally agree. As impressed as I was with the Cartier solution, as I finally got to see it, I was as much impressed with the solution that we as Netguru, together with our client NeoNail or Cosmo Group, have managed to achieve. So big kudos to our team, because as we have mentioned, the number of decisions to be made, the number of features and value brought to the final customer that has had to be taken into consideration. So as you said, actually checking how many nails are there in the in the video, or should be in the video, where is the nail, how should we take advantage of the ambient lighting, etc. The number of factors that had to be taken into consideration was huge, and the final effect, I would say, as the initial, I would say, tests show, and as clients have been rating the solution, the quality has been achieved, and we know what we are there for. I would say that this is thanks also to the goal that, as we have mentioned in the beginning, if the use case is not so clear for you, for your company, why do you need a virtual try-on? Then moving on to the goal that you want to achieve with that will be quite hard. And without that goal, it will be really hard to answer all these questions, all the questions regarding the natural lighting, all the questions regarding the quality, all the questions regarding on which app, on which, whether on web app or whether on web desktop, or specific app should be something that we should aim for. Therefore, without that final goal, this is really hard to answer these questions step by step, and the whole process becomes much longer, and it's easier to get lost on the way. So on one hand, we say, okay, this is the virtual try-on will bring all the business value that we are seeking for. At the same time, we do not care about the quality at the end of the solution that much, or the other way around. On one hand, we say, okay, this is the solution that's supposed to bring engagement from our business perspective. Our consumers should become more engaged and spend more time on our website. Let's build a brand based on that solution. At the same time, we invest heavily into the quality of the solution, and the whole project becomes more and more costly, and the final effect is hard to judge whether that is a success or not. Therefore, once again, great job having the great job of our client, or for having the goal specified from the very beginning, and then our team being able to be directed by this North Star, and actually achieving the final success. So maybe the last thing that I would like to ask you, Grzegorz, so from your perspective, process-wise, so first of all, the goal that we have had, but is there anything else process-wise that made it possible for the final solution to be a success?
Absolutely. The client was very conscious about how the machine learning solution may face different challenges, how the machine learning solution is influenced by the data that we gather, and what we discover during the process. Because as with most of data science and machine learning related stuff, there is still this additional uncertainty that it is partly scientific process, right? So you do not know whether the model that you are training and that you are supposed to deploy, how it will behave specifically on fingernails, because the segmentation problem, figuring out where specific element in the image is quite general problem in computer vision. But what are the challenges for fingernails? Until you conduct the project with this kind of a challenge, you do not know then whether your data is actually comprehensive enough, whether there are all those edge cases, as for example with French fingernail stylization, so that you need to figure out that this is actually a case which will appear quite regularly in the data, because it is like a real life scenario. There will be a lot of customers with that. And then you need to figure out how to gather the relevant data for conducting this kind of a project, to actually address all those real life situations, so that you are sure that most of your customers will be satisfied, or at least as much as possible. You need to gather the data, you need to label it, you need to make some quality assurance around the data that was gathered and the results that the model provides, because you need to make some conclusions, you need to make some hypotheses why this model does not perform as it is expected. And our client was really aware and cooperative on these areas. And I'm really glad. This is one of the reasons why the collaboration was so smooth, and that they understood that many different domain related, I would not say issues, but quite common features for this area actually may be a challenge for a machine learning model, because it is not like distinguishing car from a person or something like that, right? Because for that you have plenty of models available on the net, and you can just start the project, load the ready model, and voila, that's it. But try to find any model for fingernail segmentation in the internet. Good luck. So in this specific area, there is a lot of challenges which are actually unknown, a lot of challenges that are resulting from the specific domain to which we applied this machine learning model. And we were able to tackle them with our customer, and they understood what is the reason of those challenges and how we can proceed further on. Because there were some choices to be made, as we saw how the model actually behaves with the data, because some different behaviors of the model were acceptable for us. They were surprising, but they were acceptable. On the other hand, some of them were not acceptable. For example, I believe it could be a quite huge problem for user experience if you would have quite a big hole in the middle of your fingernail, especially during the virtual trial. So like you are trying virtually a new fingernail polish, and you have huge hole in the middle of the polish that you are trying on. That would be a quite big problem, I believe. And this is one of the elements that we needed to fix. And it was a conscious decision of the customer that, yes, this is something that we need to fix, because it would be a disaster from the UX perspective. So clear communication, how those machine learning stuff, which we were discovering during the process, and how to translate it into the relevant language for the domain, that it is a hole in the middle of the fingernail, not that our, for example, F1 score dropped by something, because that would not be interpretable at all, and making decisions upon that. It is nicely called behavioral testing in machine learning, and it actually allowed our customer to make conscious decisions about what is happening in the project. And well, we are thankful that they were so understanding towards the different quirks that machine learning model may provide during training and actually further work.
So you mentioned data as from the input perspective, what we need in the back end of our solution. You mentioned data as the from the client facing perspective as well. What I may only add to that is the data that the solution also brings to the client. So from the very beginning, when designing the whole solution, we should take that into consideration, that it's huge well of information, our virtual try-on solution. We can map, first of all, keeping it simple, what colors do our customers want to try, between what two colors they usually choose that might influence the way we position our colors on the shelves in our stores or online, or what we recommend as an upsell for our final consumers, ending up with the consumer's behavior, checking how they navigate on the website. What are the things, what are the parts that they want to click, what is a surprise for them that is not clickable, what is a surprise for them that when they click an add to cart solution, they, for example, do not get directed straight to cart, but are still remain in the solution per se. Therefore, after implementing a solution, which let's consider a great success, there is still a lot of work to be done. There is still a lot of information that can be gathered thanks to that solution. And this is as well something that we really strongly encourage our clients to do. So even after the implementing, take a full advantage of that and try to improve the solution, come up with further iteration as the solution is already live and is rated by our clients. So we've gone 50 minutes regarding the VTOs. Once again, altogether, we probably have a few hours of content regarding VTOs. Therefore, I believe we've touched today everything that we wanted to. Therefore, I think we can slowly start wrapping it up. Grzegorz, from my perspective, I really hope that the next time there will be a Netguru live regarding a VTO, we will have another real life example of a virtual try-on solution, as we have already touched the beauty industry and the revenue boosting part, the revenue boosting value being brought. Why not a footwear industry that is usually the most often mentioned on our site, and the reduced returns of product side? Like, this would be a totally completely different success story. Maybe we will be able to achieve something like that in the upcoming months, and we'll be able to publicly present it to all our listeners out there. Is there anything that you would like to add to that wrap up?
I don't think so. I believe that's a great summary.
Fantastic. So I hope to see you, Grzegorz. I hope to see you all in the next episode discussing our next success story. Thank you all for attending today. If you have any further questions regarding virtual try-ons, let us know. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, or no matter to which channel you would like. We will try to answer them, either if they are from your final consumer perspective, or if business-wise there are some questions to be asked, still reach out to us as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Grzegorz, and see you on our next live.
Thanks.